Hello, I'm Tom Bailey, and joining me today is Joseph Lombaye, who's a mindset coach and a keynote speaker. So, Joseph, hello, and a very warm welcome. Whereabouts are you in the world right now?
Hello, Tom. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. Right now, I'm in the UK
Mhm.
and in the city of Leicester specifically.
Perfect, I know it very well. And on to the subject actually of Joseph Lombaye. So, Joseph is a motivational speaker, and he helps prison inmates and former inmates across Europe and has a passion to help those facing these challenges and obstacles associated with life in and after prison. So, Joseph, thank you again for your time today.
Thank you, Tom.
And our title today is How Inmates and Former Inmates Can Overcome Some of Life's Big Challenges. And Joseph is going to show us how to do that in just 7 minutes. So, Joseph, your time starts now. And question number one is, who are your ideal clients?
So my ideal clients are prison inmates and former prison inmates, typically in the UK, but I have spent time helping prison inmates and former inmates across Europe because
Fantastic.
this is an audience that I can really relate to.
And given that you can relate to them, you probably know some of the challenges that they typically face. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge that an inmate or former inmate will face?
One of the biggest challenges they face is employment.
Mm,
People typically label them differently whenever you've been in prison. You are labeled differently. So it's one of the challenges that they face. And without knowing what they have been behind bar or serving time for, they are judged in that way. Typical challenges might be family relationships,
mhm.
for example, which makes them to feel like re-offending.
Got it. Yeah, of course. And obviously being tarred with the same brush or being labelled or not being able to get the job because people don't really understand what you've been through or why you were in prison. This can have a really negative impact on your life. So what are the typical impacts or negative consequences that you see from people going through this situation?
Some of the impacts that it has on their lives is, for example, opportunities.
Hmm.
And the worst part is isolation. And the
Yeah.
isolation, like I said previously, the isolation leads to making them want to recommit because they feel there is no one with them. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to be a friend. Nobody wants to befriend a former inmate. So because of that, they become isolated.
Yeah, it's probably a downward spiral as well. You obviously isolation and people don't want to be friends. You can't get a job. You're losing
Yeah,
relationships with your family. So
yeah.
somebody going through this situation, what is one piece of valuable advice that you'd give them to help them solve that problem?
One piece of advice that I usually give is change the story around.
Hmm.
Forget about what has happened. It's already gone. Think about what next you can do with your life because do not allow your past story to deter you from what you want to achieve in the future. So it's one advice that I always give that there is a future ahead of you. Currently, the reality doesn't have to be what has impacted your life in the past. Look up to the future, turn your story around.
Great. And I know you do a lot of training, resources, videos. You help a lot of these people in this situation. So, given that you've got so many free resources, how can people get access to them?
Uh, One of the ways in which people can get access to my resources will be visiting my page on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. Just
Yeah.
type in Joseph Lombaye.
Hmm.
That's Joseph Lombaye. And after you come to my page, type in the word podcast and send me an email.
Great.
I've got loads of free resources for emails and former emails that can help you shift your focus and transform your lives.
Perfect. So I'll post a link to your LinkedIn profile below this audio or video. And obviously, if people click
Yeah.
that, click on connect, and then type in the message, the word podcast, they'll be able to get access to all of your videos and training resources too. So,
Mhm.
another question, just slightly off topic, is what would you say is your greatest failure that you've ever made, either in life or business, and what did you learn from it?
There are lots. but
Hmm.
the one that stands out to me most is procrastination.
Yeah.
Tom, I should have been doing this a long time ago,
Mm.
but I
Yeah.
kept holding myself back. I should have been doing this a long time ago. And when I looked at it now, and it was like I was hurting more those that needed to hear my story, who are the
Hmm.
prison inmates and former inmates.
Yeah.
So I was doing them harm, at the same time doing myself harm because I was afraid to tell my story.
Yeah, and you know, you've got such a great story, so it's time that we get it out there into the world, and hopefully this podcast will help. Now, the last
Thank you.
question for me, question 7 is, what is one question that I should have asked you that would also add great value for this audience?
I believe the question will be, how has being in prison changed me?
Yeah, and what would your answer be to that question?
And my answer will be, prison changes people in many different ways. And one of the ways for me that it changed me for the better, and sometimes it changes people for the worst. But
Yeah.
for me, it changed me for the better.
Mm.
That is, I personally appreciate the freedom of walking down the streets without any restriction placed on me, without any prison security guard watching my activities. I can
Hmm.
call my mom when I want to, which I never
Yeah.
had the opportunity to do when I was behind bars.
Yeah.
So these are the few reasons, just the freedom of being out and doing what you want to do, travel when you want to travel, eat what you want to eat.
And that's a really amazing change of perspective, because I guess a lot of people who've never been through that don't necessarily value what they have and the freedom that they have as much as you can who've been through that. Great.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And again, Joseph, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm really looking forward to getting this message out there into the world.
Thank you so much for having me once again, Tom.